To be honest, we didn't expect much from the premiere of Human Anger. But at the helm of the picture is Guy Ritchie himself, but at the same time Jason Statham. And the first trailer for the film hinted at a typical bald-headed action movie. But how wrong we were. So really, Guy Ritchie has again turned out a masterpiece. Will the tape have a sequel? And is it true that the novelty is Gentleman 2? Right now we will share our thoughts after what, so sit back, stock up on cookies, or whatever you have, and catch our spoiler-free review. By the way, what film by Guy Ritchie do you like the most? Be sure to tell us about it in the comments, but we drove it. Human Wrath is a film released by director Guy Ritchie, who previously shot such masterpieces as Moneylocks, 2 Barrels of the Big Jackpot and 2 Sherlocks, while with Downey Jr. And of course recent Gentleman. This time, according to the plot of the new film, the mysterious hero, codenamed Dez, gets a job in a private cash collection company, and the role has been assigned to one of Ritchie's favorites, Jason Statham. The main character begins his own investigation of the recent brutal robbery of one of the Kurgan in the very company that he got a job. What goals and motives are driving him? The audience will have to learn something right at the premiere. And believe me, even if some of the trailers seem to you a spoiler, forget about it. The film is unexpectedly divided into several clear parts, so that the promo videos were able to spoil only 50% of the plot, and this is very unusual for films of this genre, where skirmishes always took place on the first line without any pretense for deep history. But not in the case of Anger. This time the director decided to revise the whole concept of action films based on a recognizable plot. But in the end he turned it into something completely different. Perhaps this was due to the quarantine, since the majority of the work was carried out by the film crew under conditions of restrictions. The past year has influenced all movies and TV shows are stuck on a wave of carry. This is not a film about heroes. Guy Ritchie, in principle, has not made a film for a long time about purely positive characters. From examples it is worth taking the same Gentleman or Sherlock Holmes, where the world-famous detective is still a drug addict on the plot of Anger as is a rather mysterious character. But if you have seen the trailer for the film, you will easily understand who he really is. It will not be a spoiler to say that the hero is an ambiguous guy. He has not only a dark past, but also a fucking hazy present, which makes him an anti-hero. However, this status does not place him next to characters like the Punisher or Deadpool, as these guys love to do good, although they do it in their own way. In the case of this is a complete antonym of good, and it is rather difficult to look for something heroic in this character. He has his own story and personal drama, accessible even to villains. There is still a real villain in the film, but they are also shown from very interesting angles. In this regard, Ritchie turned out to be a real professional in his field to come up with a script in which the main character and his company of bad guys, their opponents are bad guys too. And then there are a couple of real super bad guys opponents, and that people with their own clear motives for bad deeds. And in many ways these guys can even be understood as the so-called group of villains. Pretty decent guys who turned out to be retired soldiers who were scored by their own country. A similar plot is repeatedly flashed in films of recent years, even remember Cherry with Tom Holland. However, if you still get through to sympathy for these guys, then among them there really are 2 real thugs, which until the final will cause you extremely negative emotions. We will not spoil you by telling you all the plot details, but take our word for it. The very same couple will almost compete for the name of the worst until the end of the film. Of course, the winner will be determined by itself, but that's a completely different story. As for the action, not everything is as simple as we have already noted earlier. Human Anger is divided into several plot chapters, where 90% of all action will be concentrated in the final part. Therefore, a fresh masterpiece can be called an action movie with a big stretch, since in the recent Falcon and the Winter Soldier there are many times more shootouts than in this film. However, in this case, quality beats quantity. All shootings in terms of staging and brutality are easy to compare with John Wick, and maybe it will sound loud, but the level here is even a step higher than in the trilogy about the main killer of this special. The splash screen deserves a mention. The picture and the musical accompaniment of the film in the case of the first one is felt that Guy Ritchie has invested a huge sum in the development of the concept of the screensaver, which directors are increasingly hammering in lately. Just remember, in what modern cinema there was at least a little memorable intro. We only remember the fresh Russian Major Thunder. while the majority of filmmakers prefer a large full-screen movie logo or just the name somewhere on the side in the right corner. Ritchie got confused and cut one long religious Easter egg at the very beginning of the film, which surpassed all the films of Ridley Scott and Zack Snyder combined in the number of biblical references. Why it was needed? Yes, in general, and there is no need, but leaving the cinema you will definitely remember this screensaver, and that means it already means at least something. However, the recognition is not only the merit of the animators, but is Oscar-winning composer Christopher Benstead would have been if the credits did not include Hans Zimmer and John Williams. You can safely not count on a memorable soundtrack. No matter how in anger, it becomes an integral part of the picture from the very beginning to the final credits. The sound is clear, directs the viewer's emotions in the right direction. Technically, there are no 2 or 3 memorable compositions in the film. But there is one common theme that sets the tone for the entire film, which only benefits it, and perhaps the only minus of the whole film is Mr. Charisma himself. That is, Jason Statham, and you will be surprised, but it's not even about the acting, to which in this film personally, we have no questions, it's more about reputation. When in the last 10 years he has been acting exclusively in popcorn movies, and it would be quite illogical to expect something serious from him. Just remember all the latest bald guy movies. 4 parts of The Fast and the Furious, Meg the Expendables, Mechanic, and so on. Most of these films cannot be called bad, but not worthy enough. Boring suborn films and An Evening with Friends are useful to watch, and nothing more can be said about The Anger, that with all its might tries to catch up with the atmosphere of the wildest sorrow and the spirit of revenge. And towards the end of the film you will be sitting on pins and needles, because alone you will be accompanied by exciting plot twists which cannot be said about the rest of the state's filmography. And in principle, Human Anger is much less comedic than Guy Ritchie's films. Not. Of course, there are a couple of very funny moments at which you will definitely laugh. But this is far from the level of comedy that was in past films. Therefore, the main negative of the rage over Jason Statham's popcorn reputation, which can negatively affect the desire of many people and go to the movies. Some might think that this will be another action movie in the spirit, where the main good guy at the end, under a barrage of bullets, kills the local villain. This is an absolutely wrong assumption. Therefore, we once again urge you to go to the cinema, because the film will at least give you positive, strong emotions. And in addition, you will help cinemas and distributors crawl out of the post-warranty hell. Well, now let's talk about the continuation of Human Anger, and here everything is absolutely definitely not there. Will not be, and it's not even about the fees, which are still difficult to predict. In the story itself, which ended at a logical moment without a single hint of continuation inside The Anger, there is a clear and thoughtful story that ends in the finale exactly as it should have ended. And to build here some speculations regarding the sequel is absolutely stupid, so do not be confused by who is there in the lead roles. This time it's definitely not worth waiting for any Mechanic 138 in this regard. It is better to pay tribute to the old man Ritchie once again. He knows how to stop where necessary. If in the case of Gentleman or King Arthur history still could ever get a second chance, just not in Human Anger. This is a completely different movie with a different message. So what comes out? Guy Ritchie at the age of 21 made a completely without sending to the continuation with a cold plot. He took under his wing a dozen top actors. Absolutely true. These days are hard to believe that somewhere there was not born another cinema universe. However, Mr. Ritchie has always been to these standard rules, and only thanks to this and his unique director's view, Human Wrath could become a difficult passing action movie. But a real masterpiece that you will remember. And a week after watching, then you will not forget about him, as it was with the same Godzilla vs. Kong. Such films are to be appreciated. So feel free to watch this video and run to the cinemas if you haven't done it yet. Until next time, friends.